In this video, somewhat unexpectedly, I am putting a 2015 Vauxhall Movano through its paces. Basically a Renault Master with Vauxhall badges. Also available as an Opel Movano or a Nissan NV400. So let's take a look at it. Before we jump into that, I need to do a merchandise plug. We've gone all mad for colour. At Hubnut, we've got Tools, Doom, very limited stocks on Doom, and Tuck t-shirts available in this rather fetching blue. And I'd like to thank the weather for actually being mild enough for me to wear a t-shirt today, just. But yeah, let's get into what this van is and what it's like to drive. So in effect, this is the third generation Renault Master. The first being that remarkable, very modular, very French looking thing from the 1980s. Now this is also quite modular. You can see the sort of seams. You can get different wheelbases. I think this is the shortest wheelbase you could get. You can get higher roofs, low roofs, minibuses. The minibus hugely popular as non-emergency ambulances, it seems. They're all over the place, so hugely popular. And yeah, it's very van-esque, you might say. This one is getting on for 6 years old. Hasn't even done 60,000 miles yet. It's had a very light life. See, we've got parking sensors at the back. Someone got caught out by those because something obviously went between the parking sensors. If I open up the doors, the latch mechanism isn't working quite as it should. I don't think that's ideal. But if I stand up in the back in this version, there is plenty of headroom. So I think even if you boarded this out as a sort of mini camper, I think it would actually be quite good. We've got a fixed metal bulkhead on this one, a little bit of storage up there above the cab, should you wish. There's a light here as well. And we'll go and discuss the side loading door because that definitely needs some discussion. I'm afraid our test drive is likely to be marred because something has gone wrong with the switch on this. But the panels are, look at that, they are very wobbly indeed. So if we open the door, there's a proximity sensor that senses when the door's open. I think this is it, with these sort of prongs here. And unfortunately they're not working very well and it keeps telling me the door's open. But yeah, nice big sliding door. Latch mechanism's broken on this one, so it doesn't sort of stay back. You can see it's almost working there. That little jaw should lock in there and then you pull the handle and it should release, but for whatever reason it's not working. Fuel FAP located here, pretty standard on vans these days. But yeah, it's pure badge engineering. Vauxhall had no input in this at all. So a quick look at the engine, then we're going to jump in because it's persisting down with rain. So naturally the bonnet release is on the passenger side of the vehicle because French, but all the way down there somewhere is the M series diesel engine, the M&R series engines developed by Renault and Nissan together, used in all sorts of things. This particular diesel engine I think was also used in the Nissan Navara, and quite a nice engine I think. We'll get into more of that on the way. You'll see there's quite a lot of space around the back of the engine, and that's because you could specify these, like the larger Ford Transits, with a longitudinal engine and rear wheel drive. But this has got the transverse front wheel drive, which is probably the most common layout, I should say. It's the heftier ones, usually with double wheels, but I think you can get a single wheel rear wheel drive as well. But of course it's been replaced because the Movano, the next Movano, is going to be based on the Fiat Ducato, because the Renault Vauxhall relationship, which began with the Vauxhall Arena back in the early 90s, which was a Renault Traffic, and then more famously the Vivaro Traffic era, that's all come to an end because Vauxhall is now part of Stellantis with Fiat and Citroën and Peugeot and Lancia and all sorts, and Chrysler and God knows what else. So yeah, you can have this engine that way or this way. I'm pretty sure this is the only engine they came with. It's a 2.3 litre 4-cylinder diesel engine. Various power ratings, I'm not even sure which power rating this one has. From 100 brake horsepower upwards, I think. I would say it probably isn't the most punchy, but I could be wrong. Moving indoors, the handles don't inspire that much confidence. This one isn't too bad. The passenger side, you have to really yank it to get the door open. Big storage bins, you can get a bottle in there, drop your mobile phone into that one perhaps. If I hop aboard, we've got electrically operated door mirrors, And I think they're heated as well. They do seem to clear up if you put the heated rear window on. There's a switch for that, even though there is no heated rear window. Not a very inspiring dashboard. I don't really like the rev counter. Put the lights on for a moment to illuminate it better. The 10 and the 20 are upside down. And that's kind of below 3,000 revs is where you do most of your motoring in this. Despite the fact the rev counter isn't redlined until 5,000 revs, it seems to run out of steam at about 4,000. So a very agricultural, proper old school diesel engine. These face vents are quite nice, quite flexible. Got a bit more storage there. We have discovered large McDonald's cups do not fit in these cup holders. They're not very well designed, unfortunately. So that can be an issue. More document storage down there. That's probably better than a Peugeot Boxer, which has a fold down flap that inevitably breaks. We've got someone's glasses in here. A previous Hiree, more vents here. And I would like you to find the hazard warning switch. So over here we've got headlamp adjustment, turn your parking sensors off. I'm not sure what that one is. I think that might be alarm disabling for when you're on uneven terrain. I'm not sure. Dinky little wiper stalk, no mist function. Annoyingly, you pull towards to wash, but it has got variable intermittent at least. Stubby little indicator stalk over here with the light switch and the fog light there. I can only turn that. Can you turn that? Oh, I see. It's one of them jobbies. There we go. There are multifunction things you can do as well. So if we pop the ignition on. Oh, that sounds inspiring. Standard highway mode, oil level correct, no message, set clock, when the service is due, average speed, distance to empty range there, and the average 32.7 mpg, which doesn't seem too bad for a big old van. Got this thing over here which shows you if any doors are open, which sadly it seems to think happens a lot of the time. So yeah, various controls, really good stereo. Excellent bass response. We took this van to Cardiff yesterday. Air conditioning is fitted, and glove box over here as well. It's a good size, so I've got some AA breakdown. That's good to know. And yet more storage and a USB port somewhere for your coins to go. So it's pretty good for storage. We've got overhead lockers as well. Really big sun visors, and you will notice we've actually got a mirror you can use as a wide angle. I've never seen anything like that before. So that gives me a view right down the side of the bus, just in case, or the van rather, just in case these, really rather excellent door mirrors aren't up to the task. Electric windows, twin seats, little armrest there, even little coat hangers on this bulkhead. I mean, that's very tinny, and does make a bit of noise occasionally. Interior light with a map reading light just for the driver. And yes, there it is. There is the hazard warning light. It's the stupidest place for a switch. Just after picking it up, I did have an incident where there was something stopped on a bend, so I came to a halt, and I'm searching frantically, going, where are the hazard lights? Are they here? That's a nice sensible place. No. Here, nice and obvious. No. No. Someone decided that that was the place to put them, along with the central locking switch, and yet more storage. So that is not very good. I wasn't very impressed with that, but we'll go for a drive. I've got to go and return this. More merch plugging going on just down there, and yeah, we'll go and get my car back. Well, there we go. That's close to an actual driver's view going on there. There's enough width to the side window, but it's not ridiculous. A Peugeot Boxer, the door is another foot away. I think they are ridiculous vehicles. I'm not a fan of the Peugeot Boxer, but most of my driving experience was done aboard Peugeot Boxers, first generation Merc Sprinter, albeit in Mark II form, Volkswagen LT and the Volkswagen Crafter with a 5-cylinder engine. So going back to about 2010, 2011. So there will be some comparisons made with those vehicles. And I've driven the odd Transit as well. We'll say the gear lever feels a bit meh, but I've actually got used to that. It felt really horrible at first, but I have got used to it. Feels no worse, certainly, than the Mark 1 Sprinter. Do a wiper check, don't need to wash today. And good wipe there. There's a tiny little triangle of doom here, but just don't quite overlap right at the top. But I haven't had a dribble of disappointment, and if you put it on fast, and it comes all the way to here and there's no problem. But why can't it do that anyway? Put some lights on because it's nice and dark. Clutch is nice and light. Brakes are nice and progressive. And off we go. Got nice control down here for the radio controls and everything. So that's all on my fingertips, which is something I like very much. Nice low first gear. It's a 6-speed gearbox. Seems to work very nicely. Squeeze through this little gap and we'll go up the hill here, I think. Here in Newquay. There is a little naggy light that occasionally pops up just to tell you that it thinks you should be in another gear, but it's actually not too obtrusive. A lot of the time it is right. I probably should change gear. It doesn't instantly go, you should be in a different gear. It gives you a little bit of thinking time, so that's actually quite nice. Really nice driving position as well, very comfortable. Seat perhaps a little on the firm side, but of course they have to be so hard wearing because this is a van. Oh, it's nagging me now. I should be in third, but I know we're coming up to a junction, so I'm going to ignore it. I would say the ride's not too bad. Obviously, it's a little bouncy when it's empty. But what impresses me, it's a very smooth engine, I think. And it doesn't cackle like modern diesel engines tend to. The Peugeot Boxers are absolutely horrible for it, make a hideous noise that sounds like they're pinking themselves to death. This just seems smooth and entirely unbothered at all times. Cruise is really nice at motorway speeds. Legally on a motorway you can do 70 miles an hour. On roads like these we're restricted to 50 miles an hour. And yes, that wiper blade is a little vibrating. Yeah, it's not very laggy. You don't seem to get stuck with the engine off boost, which makes a big difference to some engines. And the gearing seems really well thought out. Again, the Peugeot Boxers, I find the gearing is too long, and the Crafters, conversely, too short. The Crafters, you find yourself doing 30 miles an hour in 6th gear, whereas the Boxers, first gear just doesn't feel low enough for some of the hills around here, especially when you're fully laden. So it's actually a really nice van to drive. The handling doesn't inspire the most confidence, perhaps. A little understeery in nature. But if you actually just drive around at sensible speeds, it's absolutely fine. It feels very secure. We're in 5th gear at the moment, doing 40 miles an hour. Nice little temperature display as well. It's always nice to know what temperature's going on. But there we go. Again, it's telling me the door's open when it clearly is not. I can see in my mirror it is not. So driving all the way to Cardiff and back in this van was very irritating indeed. So just for disclosure purposes, this is not a freebie. I have paid £72 a day to hire this van. We've hired it for 2 days from Crosslyn Garage in Blaenanach, I think it is, here in West Wales. And I will be having a word with them about this door because that alarm is irritating. My friend Wrenching Wench on Twitter, who does a lot of work on hire vans, tells me that sadly this is a very common problem, and you can adjust or force out the contacts so they actually stop doing this, because it's infuriating and you can't cancel it. I've tried everything to cancel it. There is nothing that will make it shut up. The only option is to turn up the thankfully decent spec stereo, and then you don't have to listen to the horrible beepy beepy noise. But yeah, very, very tractable engine, and even though it does run out of puff at about 4,000 revs, you don't really mind because you don't at any point really have to take it there. Generally everything is done below 3,000 revs and quite often below 2. I digress. We're back out onto national speed limit, or 50 miles an hour for us, so let's open her up. It's just really smooth, really effortless torque. Gathers pace really quite nicely. We haven't loaded it up too heavily, so I can't say how it responds when it's got a bit of weight on board. But yeah, it's just really, really competent. I really like it. Nothing amazes me, but it's just really, really nice. Ultimately, I would have to say I prefer the Crafters because the crafters of the era I really like had 5-cylinder engines and were very, very high on refinement. When it comes to reliability though, I mean, the electrics have clearly been a bit French on this one. They all suffer, actually. The Volkswagens were forever knocking out front struts and snapping rear springs. The Peugeot Boxers, all manner of electrical issues, things falling off, even a complete side door at one point on a minibus that was under 3 years old at the time. So yeah, all of them have issues. Transit's notorious for rot and electrical glitches these days, but I think everything has electrical glitches these days. They're doing 40 miles an hour in 6 at the moment, and just over 1,000 revs, it seems. Entirely happy at that. Turning circle on this short wheelbase isn't too bad, but naturally, if you have a longer wheelbase, your turning circle is going to start getting a bit hilarious. I think the wheels turn to a decent angle, it's just the sheer length of the thing starts to defeat you. There's a Fiat Multipla. Facelift, unfortunately. But yeah, the drivetrain's nice, there's no undue transmission shunt or anything, it's just very, very good. Actually, I've got a funny story. I just remembered, this isn't the first one of these I've driven. We did get one on demo to try when we were doing the community transport, and you know, very nice it felt too. I thought, oh, this could do us very, very well. The only problem was it was a factory converted minibus and it didn't have height adjustable seat belts. The Ford Transit you can get as a factory minibus, and that has the necessary seat belts with a height adjustment, which is a legal requirement if you're carrying children. So that was a massive fail, and sadly our local Vauxhall dealer lost some business because we needed height adjustable seat belts. So there we go, in proper van fashion I've put my park anywhere lights on. We're all good, but yeah, quite a nice van to drive. That's surprised me. I think it was better than I expected. It's 100% Renault, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's a really nice drive. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can head to the store for all the merchandisey stuff. I shall see you in a future video. Farewell.